It was a summer morning in South Carolina. 15-year-old Kara Robinson stepped outside her best friend's house to water the plants, something she'd done countless times before. Within minutes, a stranger pulled into the driveway. He smiled, held out some papers, and looked completely ordinary. But this man was a serial killer, and he was about to force Kara into a plastic storage bin in the back of his car and take her to his apartment where he had already killed other girls before. What he didn't know was that Kara would outsmart him, escape after about 18 hours in captivity, and help police end his hunting forever. This is the true story of how Kara Robinson Chamberlain survived being kidnapped by serial killer Richard Evonitz in 2002, and how her choices under pressure helped bring his crimes to light. Welcome to Surviving the Unthinkable, the show where we cover real crime stories with one focus: survival, what victims lived through, how they escaped, and what we can learn from them. I'm your host, and today we're talking about the real kidnapping of Kara Robinson Chamberlain in June 2002 in South Carolina. Kara was just 15 when she was abducted in broad daylight by Richard Evonitz, a man who had already murdered at least 3 other teenage girls in the years before. This episode includes references to kidnapping and sexual assault, but I will not describe graphic details. Please take care while listening. If this topic is sensitive for you, it's always okay to pause, skip, or come back later. Before the 24th of June 2002, Kara was a regular teenager in Columbia, South Carolina. She was 15 years old, spending her summer hanging out with friends and her boyfriend, planning trips to the lake, and doing normal everyday chores. On that morning, she went to her best friend's house. The girls were supposed to water the flowers in the front yard before they headed out for the day, so Kara volunteered to take care of it while her friend stayed inside. It was bright, it was public, it was an ordinary front yard in a neighborhood where nothing was supposed to go terribly wrong. That's the backdrop for what happened next. As Kara was watering the plants, a Pontiac Trans Am pulled into the driveway. The man who stepped out was later identified as 38-year-old Richard Evonitz. He walked over to Kara, holding some papers or magazines, and started small talk. He asked if her friend's parents were home. Kara told him they weren't. He said he had magazines or pamphlets to give them and leaned closer. Kara has since said that she felt a red flag go off in her mind in that moment, something telling her that this was wrong. As she processed that feeling, he pressed a gun to her neck and quietly threatened to shoot her if she screamed. In broad daylight, in a front yard, he forced her back toward his car. He put Kara into a large plastic storage bin in the back seat, gagged and restrained her, and closed the lid. From the outside, it probably looked like he was just loading something into his vehicle. Inside the container, Kara was trying to stay calm. She later described silently repeating 3 instructions to herself: stay calm, gather information, escape. That mindset would shape everything she did next. Evonitz drove her to his apartment in Columbia, South Carolina, where he lived with his wife. Along the way, even while trapped inside the bin, Kara started absorbing every detail she could: the number of turns he made, the feel of the road, highway, or local streets, a radio station, even the serial number printed on the plastic container she was inside. She was already building a mental map she could hand to police if she got out. At the apartment, he carried the bin inside and kept her captive there for about 18 hours. During that time, he repeatedly assaulted and restrained her, keeping her handcuffed and tied to a bed at various points. Kara has said that she made a deliberate choice. She would comply outwardly, stay as calm as possible, and make him believe she wasn't going to fight or try to escape so that he would let his guard down. She talked with him, did small tasks like sweeping his kitchen, and paid attention to his routines and personality. All of that was strategy. At one point, he even turned on the news to see if her abduction had been reported yet. When it wasn't, he told her that nobody missed her, and that even if he let her go, she would just be known as the girl who got raped. But Kara didn't accept that as her future. She stayed focused on one thing: waiting for the right moment to escape. After drugging her with a combination of Valium and marijuana, Evonitz eventually fell asleep next to her while she was still restrained. When Kara woke up and realized he was deeply asleep, she knew this was her window. She carefully worked one of her hands free from the handcuffs, using her teeth to help loosen and remove them. Then she managed to release a leather restraint that was holding one of her legs to the bed. Every movement had to be quiet. Every sound risked waking him up. Once she was free enough to move, she tiptoed through the apartment, found the front door, and unbolted multiple locks. Then she opened the door and ran. In the parking lot, Kara saw two men in a car. She ran to them, told them she had been kidnapped, and insisted they drive her directly to the police station. Even in that moment, she pointed out the apartment she had just escaped from and told them to remember it so police would know exactly where to go. At the Richland County Sheriff's Department, she gave a detailed account of what had happened and everything she had observed: the car, the apartment, the man, and his habits. She even still had a handcuff on one wrist as physical proof of what she had survived. Some early reactions reportedly made her feel like she wasn't fully believed, which was infuriating after everything she had just done to escape and bring information. But eventually, law enforcement listened to her details, and those details were powerful. He fled South Carolina and was later spotted in Florida. When police moved in to arrest him during a traffic stop near Sarasota, he led them on a brief chase and then killed himself with a gunshot as officers approached. Only after Kara's escape did investigators connect him to other crimes: the kidnapping and murder of 16-year-old Sophia Silva in 1996 and sisters Kristen and Katie Lisk in 1997 in Virginia. Kara's survival didn't just save her own life. It helped expose a serial killer who had been operating for years. Today, Kara Robinson Chamberlain is a married mother of two and a public speaker who advocates for other survivors and shares safety education. She has spoken openly about her kidnapping, trauma, and healing, and she works to turn her experience into tools that can help others recognize danger and respond under pressure. Instead of letting her story end at victim, she has built a life around resilience, advocacy, and reminding people that they are more than the worst thing that ever happened to them. So what can we learn from Kara's story without blaming her at all for what was done to her? First, instincts matter. Kara felt that red flag in her mind when the stranger leaned in. You are allowed to listen to that feeling, even if everything looks normal on the surface. Second, staying calm can be a survival strategy. Inside that bin and later in the apartment, she focused on staying as calm as possible so she could observe, think, and plan. That doesn't mean she wasn't terrified. It means she used her fear as information, not as the only voice in the room. Third, gathering information can save lives. The turns she counted, the radio station, the serial number on the bin, the layout of the apartment, those details gave police a roadmap directly to her attacker. Fourth, compliance under threat is not weakness. Kara has said she chose to go along with certain things to keep him calm and lower his guard so she could escape. That is strategy, not consent, and it does not make her responsible for his crimes. Fifth, systems and people matter. The men who drove her to the station, the officers who eventually followed up on her information, all of them became part of the chain that ended a serial killer's crimes. If this story brought up strong feelings for you, you're not alone. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, please contact your local emergency number. If you're dealing with fear, past trauma, or anxiety after a crime, consider reaching out to a counselor, a trusted person, or a support line in your area. Thank you for watching Surviving the Unthinkable. If you want more real stories told from a survivor-focused perspective, not just glorifying criminals, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future episodes. It helps a lot more than you might think. Share this episode with someone who might benefit from the awareness and the lessons in Kara's story. I'm your host, and I'll see you in the next episode.